we had, early opportunity, maybe early like Mizorowski before he settled in. We needed to get him before he settled in, and he made some pitches to, the strike out of Hap. If Hap Ian gets on there, then there's some pressure on him immediately. But ultimately, we didn't create pressure on any of their guys, and so then they got some confidence, and obviously they had a lead, and the lead pitching with that lead helps as well. We just couldn't get anything going.
That's great counsel. I think that soundbite kind of sums up last night's game for sure, but I think a little bit of the first game too. The Brewers are doing Brewers things, and they're putting guys on, and they're creating threats, even if those threats aren't leading to runs. And the Cubs, I was just so struck, and this is where we can begin with Sam Olbur, Locked on Cubs. I was just so struck at like innings 5 through 9 last night, Sam. The Cubs just kind of went meekly, like they were easy at bats. One at bat really didn't lead to the next. It just felt like the Cubs were kind of done after like the 5th inning last night. Is that what you saw?
For 7 years.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's how it's been. It's first of all, thanks for having me on.
No, thank you.
Big fan of your show. Hopefully, your listeners now know me a little bit to know that I am a Cubs diehard fan / podcaster, but a what's the word I'm looking for? An unwilling admirer of what the Brewers do, and not surprised at all that this is how this series is going. Look, I mean, the offense has been this way for a few months. It's, hey, let's see if Bush, Suzuki, Tucker, or Pete could get into a ball, with Nico getting a hit or two. And if that doesn't happen, we're out of luck. And the irony is that at Wrigley, Grant, most of the year, 3 runs has been enough.
Mm-hmm.
You get the big 3-run homer, and then Boyd or Imanaga or somebody pitches well, but you're not at Wrigley. And look, I just want to say this. I was listening. I think the Cubs are down 0-2 regardless, but I don't think Brewers fans realize how much Counsell and company botched this situation. Matthew Boyd had no business pitching on 3 days rest with the way he closed the season, and Shota Imanaga had no business starting over Colin Ray in Game 2. I know that might strike people, Brewers fans. Colin Ray, really? Yes. He was outside of Cade Horton, who got hurt, was by far the Cubs' second-best pitcher heading into the end of the season, along with Tyone. Those 3 guys, all the righties were pitching really well. And Imanaga had an ERA over 6 in Denver, giving up home run balls all over the place, and he really is only okay at Wrigley with the wind blowing in. And it was just very predictable that he was going to have that outing. So I know that's a lot there, but
no.
Frustrating.
No, that's why you're here. I appreciate that. I talked about this earlier on in the show. Like maybe Shota wasn't the perfect starter, and I don't know that Ashby was the perfect choice. I mean, if he doesn't give up the 3-run tank to Seiya, we could be saying Ashby, great, brilliant decision, which is how one swing can decide a narrative. But the difference is Ashby gave up 3 runs, and then Contreras and Churio and Vaughn went out and made plays, and Tucker and Pete and those guys didn't. And I those guys are better than this. Like this Cubs offense should be better collectively. The sum of the parts should be a lot better than this. And I don't want to say, well, that's Counsell for you, but like weirdly, the Cubs offense is reminiscent of what the Brewers offense looked like at the end with Craig in the postseason, but the Cubs have better hitters than Craig did in Milwaukee. So I don't really get it.
Yeah. This is how it's been, man. It was like this in 18 when you guys came to Wrigley, game 163. At the end of most years, whether it's Counsell or whatever, it feels like, look, there's a micro and macro way to look at this from a Cubs perspective, right? The micro way is hey, maybe we should have started somebody else. We got to get Tucker going. We got to get Pete going, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
The macro way, which is I think how I tend to go, is that there's just a significant organizational gap between these two teams. And it's been significant for literally 7 years. I don't count the fact that the Cubs had a better record through 60 games in 2020. They had a better record through 60 games this year. That's not how it works. It's 160 games. And it just feels like, my dad texted me yesterday. I thought he summed it up great. He goes, it's like you're watching 2 different sports. It feels like when, and you know me, you see me on Twitter, I watch all the Brewers games, almost all of them.
You do.
And it just feels like it's just different. The Cubs, they just wait for something to happen. And look, as you guys are most likely going to see very soon, the Dodgers have that philosophy too, but it's a little different when you have Ohtani and Freeman and Betts and Hernandez and Snell and all those guys. The Cubs' philosophy of just waiting for something to happen, it just doesn't seem like they have good enough players to do that. Whereas the Brewers, you use the phrase beautifully, the sum of their parts. It feels like the Brewers just get so much more of the sum of their parts with the way they play versus how the Cubs play. And in fairness to Jed Hoyer, who's the Cubs president of baseball ops, he felt like he was solving this when he went out and traded for Kyle Tucker, and Kyle Tucker just hasn't been that guy since June. So I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, even though I'm keep talking. I think tonight on our show we're going to talk about Tucker, and then in the off season it's going to be assuming the Cubs don't come back here, it's going to be something along the lines of you either have to spend so much money that you mitigate the organizational gap between these two teams, or you got to start getting sharper and sharper. And I don't know how they're going to do that.
And I heard you and Matt talking about that last night on your post game. Like, you got to go one of two ways because you're kind of in the middle right now. And I think that's been borne out in the results. This doesn't necessarily pertain to the series, but I'm curious while I have you. I listen to a little 670 The Score. They don't often get super riled up. Kaplan does. I like his recaps. What has the discourse been like from the local media and the talking heads about Tucker? Because I watch him. I know he's not an animated guy. He just doesn't really look that into it. And that's the player the Cubs gave up a mountain to rent, in theory, to contend. And he just, to your point, hadn't been that guy this year.
Yeah, that's why I want to talk about it tonight, because the discourse hasn't got there yet. It's kind of like he's just, right now it just feels like he's one of the guys, just like Hap is or Seiya is or Bush is. My guess is I think a lot of people feel like he's playing hurt, and so that's probably why there's not more discourse on it. But there hasn't been a lot of discourse, and I want to talk about that tonight. I want to bring up one more thing to you. I have a question for you too. I don't know how long you can have me on.
But, another 5 minutes, sure.
5 minutes. I just want to say this from a Cubs perspective. It is so. What's the word I'm looking for? It hurts so much because the Cubs showed signs this year of doing some Brewers type things. They turned Brad Keller into a bullpen ace, Grant. They turned Daniel Palencia into a fairly reliable guy until he threw 2 pitch right down the middle last night. Caleb Thielbar. You got Boyd was a really curious free agent signing. That was kind of a Brewers type signing.
Yeah.
A cheaper guy. They turned him. They did a lot of good things. They won 92 games, and yet while doing a lot of good things, the gap between these organizations still feels like the exact same as it was last year, with the Cubs making some significant improvements, and that's hard to swallow.
I get it. It's weird. I wonder if the Brewers, like, if they take away one of their winning streaks, like take away one of their 8-game winning streaks, and this division
demoralizing is the word I was looking for.
Demoralizing, and that's a good word. I get it. And if the Cubs, I'd feel the same way. I'd be sick to my stomach if the Cubs came up and beat this series. And it's still a series, like it's not done yet. But I'd be sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
I'd want to quit baseball fandom if the Cubs and Craig came up here and beat them after the year the Brewers had. I don't know, man. I wonder if the Brewers take away one of those, just white hot winning streaks. The Brewers win 93, the Cubs win 92. It comes down to the last day of the season. I wonder if this feels differently, and then the result of the series would feel differently. I know that's changing the calculus of the season, but I'm not changing it drastically. I think it would just change maybe how it feels. Maybe you tell me. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I don't buy into the luck stuff. Like when I watch the Brewers have those crazy win streaks, they look like the better team every game.
Yeah.
So I think they're really good. And I really think they're going to give the Dodgers, assuming this series ends here with a Brewers victory. I don't know if they're going to beat the Dodgers, but they're not going to get rolled over. I'm pretty confident in that. I wish, for their sake, I wish Woodruff were healthy and pitching better, and Mizorowski was an actual starting pitching option. Because even the fact that he threw well yesterday, I still wouldn't feel like overly confident throwing him out like they're in Dodger Stadium. But yeah, I think they're really good. My question for you is if the Cubs get to tomorrow, does Freddie go game 4 or do they save him for game 5?
I think they would go Quintana. I don't know for sure. Murphy's been, man, I don't know. Murphy he plays off like an aw shucks bumpkin guy, but I think he's done some things. Their approach early in game 1, And I thought Priester was going tonight. It seemed like everybody thought Priester was going tonight. Council made mention of that in a mid-game interview. I think they've been a little sneaky with a few things. Not that Murphy would never act like it because he downplays literally everything. I would assume Quintana goes, given how rested they are, man. Like, they have no reason not to use any relievers with their best relievers. I would throw Quintana game 4 at Wrigley, but that would just be my guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that sounds right. And then come back Freddie game 5 if that were to happen.
Or
But
game 1 of an NLCS if that's where it goes to. Yeah, he'd be lined up for
right.
that.
Yeah, I just don't. I really hope. I think the Cubs need to get a game because I think getting swept would be pretty. I know it's just one game, but that's pretty tough to swallow. But we'll see. My guess is the wind will be blowing in here. It's real cold. And I shouldn't say real cold, but it's just not great weather, and that typically is how the Cubs win games. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in Game 3. But yeah, this Brewers team, I'm just not surprised. I picked the Cubs on the show with Chuck, who I think you get that on.
Mm-hmm.
In 5, just because I was drinking the post Padres Kool-Aid a little bit. But this Brewers team, there's something missing organizationally between them and the Cubs, and it wasn't just 2 wins for me, Grant. It was just everything was on display. I mean, the game's never felt competitive outside of the top of the first inning.
60 seconds before I let you go. I never see you tweet about this or engage, and I try not to too, other than bad-mouthing Council, because I think we have a good sports reason to as a fan base. Are you exhausted by the Wrigley North, the urinals at Wrigley? Like, this rivalry exhausts me because I feel like it becomes so much more than like a baseball thing. I want to talk about pitching decisions and lineups, and where do you stand on the back and forth, the Miz celebrating last night and all this stuff? Like, I never see you engage with
Don't care. Because I don't care. To me, it's just about winning. It's kind of like a Bears Packers thing where it's like we're getting dominated. So like I don't engage. Like if Mizorowski celebrates like that and we're getting dominated, it just feels like if I'm that guy in a pickup basketball game and my team's down 11-3 and some guy just dunks on me and stares at me, what do I say? You know what I mean? Like we're getting dominated. I'm more into that stuff. Like when I feel like the Cubs are at that level and it's like, hey, like. How many, how many division titles have you won lately or whatever? But like when you're on the other side of it, when you're losing consistently, I just think it's hard to talk about anything else but trying to find a way to turn the tide and start winning. And then once you start winning, then we can have a conversation about, Wrigley North, but the Mizorowski celebrating, none of that stuff. The only thing that would matter for me is if it got the Cubs going, got their bats going, got them going a little bit. Otherwise, it's hard, Grant, when you're losing. You're losing. Milwaukee has been the better team for 7 years. So what do you say?
Your podcast is excellent. You and Matt do a great job. I will listen to your Tucker discourse tonight because Jesse Rogers had an interesting tweet that I actually thought was rather significant last night about Tucker's future, or interesting at the very least.
He literally said he's gone, right?
Yeah, and anybody who's ever thought otherwise is wrong. I'm like, well, that seems significant. That maybe should be presented in more than just a reply to a fan who's asking a question. So I look forward to your podcast. Enjoy the game and the rest of the series, whatever it brings. Thank you for the time, Sam.
All right, appreciate you having me on, Grant, as always.
Sam, anytime I can get you, I'll take you. Sam Olbur, Locked on Cubs. Appreciate it. Him and Matt do an excellent podcast.